Another high-value customer just churned because our agent fumbled that complex query. Unacceptable.
The agent was overwhelmed. No real-time context, no next best action. It's not just them.
So we just let them drown. We
Yeah.
need to empower them, not just blame the tools we lack.
Exactly. The answer isn't more training. It's an intelligent co-pilot for every single interaction.
This is another episode of the CRM Position Podcast. You are operating contact centers that are fundamentally broken because we've turned humans into reactive data miners. The tension today is how to deploy an active, reasoning AI co-pilot that orchestrates workflows without turning your human workforce into mindless button pushers.
Right. And if you are tuning in to this deep dive right now, you are likely a CRM professional or an AI strategist.
Raw platform leader, sitting in a war room.
Exactly. Staring at dashboards that are just flashing red. You're dealing with the real operational reality of customer service in an era where the old models are just failing spectacularly.
Failing completely. And look, we are talking directly to you today. We've got a massive stack of sources on the table for this deep dive.
Internal post-incident reports.
Right. Architectural breakdowns of Salesforce Agentforce, the Atlas reasoning engine, raw data from enterprise war rooms.
The real stuff.
The real stuff. And our mission today, we are ripping up the governance models you've relied on for the past decade.
Because they don't work anymore.
They don't. This is a practitioner's debate. We are going to examine the absolute unvarnished reality of these deployments. There is zero marketing fluff here today.
No vendor pitches?
None. No pie-in-the-sky theoreticals about how AI is going to, magically fix your bottom line.
We're getting into the trenches, looking at the operational failures, the structural changes, and quite frankly, the uncomfortable truths about what happens when you introduce an autonomous reasoning engine into your live workflows.
So to do that effectively, we really have to start by surgically dissecting why the status quo is currently collapsing under its own weight.
You can't talk about the solution without really interrogating the failure of the current environment.
Right.
I mean, if we look at the legacy Service Console, it is, at its absolute best, a passive data viewer.
A passive data viewer.
I like that. Think about it. It's essentially a digital filing cabinet with a search bar. We have built an operational model over the last 20 years that forces human agents into a fundamentally defensive, reactive posture.
Yes, and let me paint a picture of what that actually looks like on the floor. Because calling it a passive data viewer almost sounds too polite.
It's a mess.
It's more like a digital hoarding situation. You have these incredibly empathetic, intelligent human beings, and we are turning them into human APIs.
Just fetching data.
Exactly. They sit there waiting, the phone rings or the chat pings, and on the other end is a customer who is already frustrated.
They're trying to articulate a highly complex, often emotionally charged issue.
And what is our operational directive to the agent? Hold on, let me check your file.
And then the excavation begins.
Excavation is the perfect word. We ask them to manually dig through completely disconnected data silos.
Right. They are swivel chairing between an order management system built in 2012
A modern billing platform.
and a static knowledge base that hasn't been updated since the last product launch.
All of this is happening while the customer is literally tapping their foot on the other end of the line.
We are consuming massive, massive amounts of human cognitive bandwidth, not on actually solving the problem, but on search and retrieval.
It's the root of the rot in modern contact centers. You are forcing the agent to play detective under extreme duress.
They're trying to piece together fragments of a customer's history. Was there a shipping delay?
They call about this yesterday.
Is there an active outage in their zip code?
The agent has to manually query every single one of those systems. It is an operational failure of massive proportions because human bandwidth is entirely consumed by the hunt.
That is not customer service.
No, that is reactive data mining.
And this operational failure, this exhaustion of human bandwidth, is exactly why we are seeing the aggressive shift toward predictive engagement and intelligent reasoning. But, and this is critical for anyone listening who is planning a deployment, we need to draw a very hard, extremely clear line right here between a basic chatbot and an intelligent copilot driven by a reasoning engine like Atlas.
Yes, please, because this is where a lot of platform leaders get fundamentally confused.
And that architectural confusion leads directly to catastrophic deployments on the floor.
The industry is absolutely drowning in its own hype right now. A lot of folks think they've deployed an intelligent copilot.
But what they've actually deployed is just an overgrown FAQ search engine.
Exactly. A basic copilot just regurgitates text.
It's useless.
If I'm an agent in a live, complex escalation, let's say a high-value client has a multi-layered billing dispute that is somehow tied to a localized service outage.
And they also have a pending hardware return.
Right. A basic text generation tool is completely, utterly useless to me in that moment.
It is worse than useless. It is an active distraction. A basic tool will just look at the keywords billing and outage.
And it will spit out a generic apology paragraph.
And a link to a 40-page policy document. It doesn't synthesize the complexity.
It infuriates the agent because it's just noise taking up screen real estate.
Yeah.
The agent still has to do the heavy lifting of figuring out what to actually do in the billing system.
Exactly.
So break down the operational difference for us. When we talk about a reasoning engine, what is actually happening that shifts this paradigm?
An intelligent copilot, fundamentally grounded in real enterprise data, doesn't just look at the prompt, guess the next word, and generate text. It actively reasons a plan of action.
It plans.
Yes. We are talking about the autonomous execution of multi-step business tasks directly within the agent's active workflow.
Okay, so it's doing the clicking.
It is analyzing the context across all those data silos instantly. And without the human agent having to type a single search query, the engine orchestrates the workflow.
Wait, let's slow down on orchestrates the workflow. Give me the play-by-play. What does that actually look like for the human sitting at the desk?
It looks like an operational plan presented for validation, rather than a blank screen waiting for input.
Got it.
The reasoning engine realizes the customer has a billing issue tied to an outage. Simultaneously, in the background, it is drafting the case notes.
It's calculating the prorated refund quote.
Based on the specific duration of the outage in that customer's region, and it is initiating the RMA workflow for the hardware return.
It bundles all of those actions.
It bundles them and presents a fully baked operational plan to the agent. Here's the context, here's the math, here are the 3 clicks required to execute this resolution.
It shifts the burden of process execution entirely from the human to the machine.
Entirely.
Okay, that is a massive paradigm shift. But we have to push this even further into the reality of what is happening right now with multimodal interactions.
Because this isn't just about parsing text faster anymore.
No. If we look at the Einstein service agent within this ecosystem, we're moving beyond text entirely. Let's talk about the operational impact of processing visual data, because this is where the speed to resolution metrics get really wild.
Multimodal is the wedge that finally breaks the bottleneck of customer communication.
Right. Imagine your agent is dealing with a frustrated user in the field who has a piece of proprietary industrial hardware that is failing. Let's say it's a commercial router.
The customer is not a technician.
They don't know the serial number. They have no idea what firmware version they are running. They just know there's a flashing red light and some cryptic error code on a tiny scratch screen on the back of the unit.
And in the old world, the customer tries to describe this over chat.
And in that passive data viewer model, the friction is immediate. The agent has to say, "Sir, can you read me the numbers beneath the barcode?"
The customer reads it wrong.
Then the agent asks for the error code. They manually transcribe it, realize it's missing a digit, and then finally they start searching the knowledge base.
You've lost 10 minutes just trying to establish a shared reality of what is broken.
But with a multimodal reasoning engine, the workflow changes completely. The customer just takes a picture of the back of the router with their smartphone and uploads it to the chat.
The AI ingests that image.
It analyzes the visual context instantly. It reads the error code perfectly.
It identifies the exact hardware model from the visual footprint of the casing.
It cross-references that visual data with the customer's purchase history in Data Cloud to confirm warranty status.
And proactively suggests a specific firmware patch or initiates a hardware replacement workflow.
And it does all of this before the agent has even touched their keyboard to reply.
The operational value here cannot be overstated. This isn't a neat party trick to show off at a tech conference.
No, it's a fundamental structural reduction in diagnostic time. I really want you, the listener, to internalize this. You are transforming a point of immense operational friction, trying to get a non-technical customer to accurately describe a physical or technical problem into a seamless, instantaneous data transfer.
You are surfacing deeply context-aware information before the agent's search process even begins.
You are shading entire minutes off of handling times for highly complex, diagnostic-heavy interactions. That is the actual operational definition of shifting from reactive to predictive.
However, and this is where we have to pivot hard into the reality of the war room, recognizing the theoretical power of this technology is very different from actually surviving its implementation.
Messy.
We need to move from the pristine architecture of a slide deck to the messy reality of the contact center floor, because these systems break.
Oh, they break.
And when an autonomous reasoning engine breaks, it breaks at scale.
Let's get right into the dirt then. Let's look at the actual failure modes. We are going to conduct 3 incident postmortems based on real war room scenarios where these intelligent co-pilot deployments have broken down in spectacular fashion.
These are the incidents that cause platform leaders to lose their jobs.
If you are listening, pay attention to these. Let's start with scenario 1. I call this the recommendation overload and decision fatigue incident.
This is incredibly common in early-stage deployments.
So here is the mess. You've just deployed your shiny new intelligent co-pilot. You've done the work. You've connected it to every possible data source in your enterprise.
And suddenly your agents on the floor are absolutely bombarded.
They open a case, and the user interface lights up like a pop-up ad nightmare from the early 2000s.
They are getting 5 different next best action recommendations simultaneously.
There's a panel flashing with real-time sentiment analysis alerts telling them the customer is mildly annoyed.
There are pop-ups aggressively suggesting cross-sell opportunities for product bundles.
It's chaos. There is a complete and total lack of prioritization.
The system is surfacing everything it knows all at once because the platform team configured it for maximum data visibility rather than operational utility.
But wait, if the AI is literally handing them every possible answer and piece of context on a silver platter, why is this a failure? You would think this makes them invincible.
You would think.
Yet, the operational symptom of this incident is immediate and paradoxical. You deployed the tool to accelerate resolution, but you sit in your war room, you watch your dashboards, and your resolution times are actually increasing.
Handle times are going up.
Why?
Because instead of accelerating the workflow, the AI has induced massive decision paralysis. The agent is sitting there looking at a wall of AI-generated insights, struggling to discern which action is actually the correct one for the specific, highly nuanced context of the customer's immediate emotional state.
Human cognitive bandwidth is finite. When you overwhelm it, human nature takes over.
They experience decision fatigue.
Precisely. They reach a point of cognitive overload where they decide that the AI is just noise.
It's a distraction.
And so they mentally tune it out. They ignore the co-pilot entirely.
They close the AI panel and revert back to their old, slow, manual search methods just to regain a sense of control over their own workflow.
You spent millions on a reasoning engine, and your agents are treating it like a spam folder.
So how do we fix it? If we can't just throw all the data at them, what is the architectural solution?
The fix here requires a surgical approach to the user interface and the underlying logic of the reasoning engine. We have to argue for ruthless contextualization over volume.
The AI must act as a filter, not a fire hose.
Give me an example of what ruthless contextualization looks like in practice.
It means that if the AI cannot determine with a high degree of confidence that a single specific action is the absolute best path forward, it should not present 5 mediocre options.
It needs to hold back.
It needs to dynamically suppress insights that are not immediately relevant to the current microcontext of the conversation.
Let's make that concrete.
For instance, if the sentiment analysis is flagging that a customer is exhibiting highly negative sentiment regarding a severe billing error, the AI must ruthlessly suppress the cross-sell recommendation for an upgraded data plan.
Yes. No matter what the marketing algorithms are screaming in the background, operational reality dictates that you do not try to upsell a furious customer.
Contextualization means the AI understands the hierarchy of operational needs at any given second and only shows the agent the tool required for that exact second.
That makes perfect sense. It's about curation, not just surfacing data. Let's pivot to scenario 2.
This one is an absolute nightmare for governance.
And it's happening in every major contact center right now. The shadow AI rebellion.
This scenario is fascinating because it's born out of agent competence, not incompetence.
Exactly. Here's the incident. You've rolled out Agentforce, or whatever your official sanctioned deployment is, but the models are sluggish.
Or maybe your legal and compliance teams got paranoid and locked down the prompts so tightly that the AI has become overly prescriptive and rigid.
It only handles the happy path. It completely fails to accommodate the weird, messy, edge case workflows that your veteran agents deal with every single day.
Let's say you have a 10-year veteran on the floor. She knows how to solve a problem, but the official AI won't let her orchestrate the workflow the way she knows works best.
And we know that veteran agents are incredibly resourceful problem solvers. They are judged on their ability to close cases.
If the official tool is slowing them down or actively preventing them from resolving the customer's issue efficiently, they will simply bypass it.
Yeah, this is where it gets dangerous. They don't just go back to manual searching. They develop their own informal methods.
They start using external, unsanctioned, consumer-grade AI tools.
That veteran agent has a hidden browser tab open on her secondary monitor running a free consumer LLM.
She is copy-pasting customer emails, sometimes containing secure, personally identifiable information, into this unsanctioned tool to draft responses.
To summarize long case notes.
Or translate text. She is just trying to do her job efficiently, but she is doing it completely outside your secure enterprise perimeter.
The implications for data privacy, SOC 2 compliance, and regulatory adherence alone should keep any platform leader awake at night.
You are creating a massive surface area for a data breach, and you don't even know it's happening.
I cannot stress the severity of this enough for the listener. This creates an absolute governance nightmare. It is a catastrophic breakdown of operational control.
Let's break down the impact.
First, you have massively inconsistent service quality. One customer gets a brilliant, hyper-personalized, beautifully reasoned response drafted by that veteran's unsanctioned AI.
And the next customer gets a rigid robotic script from a junior agent using the official lockdown system.
Second, you're actively creating massive unsearchable data silos.
The actual intelligence of how your most complex edge cases are being solved is not making it back into your system.
It is living in the browser history of an agent's personal device. It is completely invisible to your data cloud.
And third, you have a complete, terrifying loss of visibility into what your agents are actually doing on the floor.
You sit in the boardroom thinking you are managing a state-of-the-art AI-driven contact center, but you are actually managing a chaotic, fragmented shadow operation where your best agents are acting as rogue operators.
This rebellion happens for one simple reason. The implementation team failed to align the AI's capabilities with the actual ground truth workflows of the agents.
They built a system for the process manual, not for the reality of the floor.
Which brings us to scenario 3.
This is perhaps the most dangerous failure mode because it directly and sometimes irreversibly attacks the customer relationship. Let's discuss hallucinations, sentiment misfires, and the insidious, silent nature of data drift.
Right. The incident looks like this. The intelligent copilot is active in a live chat. The customer uses a piece of complex, industry-specific jargon, or perhaps they are heavily using sarcasm.
Oh yeah, I just love waiting 3 weeks for a replacement part. It's my favorite thing.
Exactly. The AI completely misinterprets the sentiment or the intent.
It generates a response or suggests an action to the agent that is wildly inappropriate, factually incorrect, or borderline offensive given the context.
We have to examine the root causes of this because there is a very dangerous fallacy floating around enterprise IT right now.
Everyone assumes that if you just ground the AI in your data cloud,
If you connect it to your CRM,
you magically eliminate hallucinations.
that is completely false. Grounding is only as good as the temporal accuracy of your underlying data.
Temporal accuracy, meaning, is the data actually true right now?
Exactly. Even with perfect grounding at the time of deployment, you face the operational reality of data drift.
Your company policies change. Your product offerings evolve.
Let's say a macroeconomic shift, like a sudden supply chain tariff, forces you to retire a specific legacy pricing tier.
If the underlying data tables feeding the reasoning engine are not continuously refreshed, curated, and validated against this new reality, the AI's models become silently outdated.
So the AI is operating with supreme confidence in a reality that no longer exists.
Precisely. It confidently executes logic and suggests workflows based on ghost data.
And the impact of that on the floor is devastating. It is the immediate, explosive destruction of customer trust.
Imagine the AI automatically drafts an email to a customer offering a proactive solution for a hardware product you discontinued 6 months ago.
Or worse, it automatically offers a tone-deaf, $5 automated discount to a highly lucrative enterprise customer who is furious about a critical multi-day service outage.
The damage is done instantly. And what is the operational cost of that misfire?
The human agent then has to step in and spend the next 45 minutes doing nothing but damage control.
They are apologizing for the system, trying to walk back an offer that the AI shouldn't have made.
And desperately trying to salvage your relationship that the machine just torpedoed.
The human intervention required to fix a confident AI mistake is exponentially higher than the intervention that would have been required to just let the human handle the case manually in the first place.
These three scenarios, recommendation overload causing decision fatigue, the shadow AI rebellion breaking your security posture, and data drift causing confident misfires, these are the actual realities of the modern war room.
We are not dealing with theoreticals here.
So to avoid them, we need to move from analyzing postmortems to executing a proactive strategy.
We need to construct a practical, rigorous, 5-step playbook for the deployment of an intelligent co-pilot.
And let's be clear for the listeners, these cannot be high-level strategic pillars.
Synergize the AI workflow means nothing.
These must be concrete, boots-on-the-ground operational directives.
Let's lay out this playbook right now. We are going to rapid-fire these directives, and I want to really dig into the friction of executing each one.
Step 1 is foundational. You must mandate transparent AI to build trust.
Okay, let me clear the air on this immediately, because building trust sounds like HR speak. You cannot mandate trust.
You cannot send out an internal company memo on a Tuesday telling your agents, please trust the new Agentforce system. It's very smart.
Trust is not a policy. It must be intricately, deliberately designed into the user interface.
I agree completely. The interface must explicitly visually demonstrate why the AI is suggesting a specific action.
Let's debate a concrete example to make this real.
The reasoning engine analyzes a complex billing case and pops up a recommendation for the agent. Offer a Goodwill voucher for $50.
Right. And in a standard black box system, the agent just sees that final output. Give them $50.
They don't know if the AI considers this customer high value, if it recognized a specific service failure in the logs, or if the algorithm is just glitching out.
And what happens operationally without that context?
The agent will reject the output. They have to.
They're the ones who have to own the interaction with the customer, and more importantly, they're the ones who have to answer to their floor manager.
If they blindly offer $50 and their manager asks them later during a QA review why they gave away company money, the machine told me to is not an acceptable operational answer.
It gets them fired.
So how do we design for transparency?
The UI must display the chain of reasoning. It cannot just be the answer. It has to be the math behind the answer.
It needs to show a collapsible panel.
That says, recommendation, $50 voucher. Reasoning, customer tenure is greater than 5 years. Sentiment analysis indicates high frustration. Recent shipping delay logged in order management system API. Policy X allows up to a $75 discretionary budget for this specific scenario.
When the agent sees that detailed chain of logic, they aren't just blindly trusting the AI. They are actively validating its reasoning. That is how you drive actual adoption.
Exactly. My hard rule for this. If the agent cannot see the why behind a prompt, you pause the rollout, period. Do not deploy a black box.
Moving to step 2. We must operationalize dynamic knowledge creation. This is a fundamental paradigm shift for the enterprise.
We are outlining the absolute end of static knowledge bases.
Historically, knowledge management has been a massive operational bottleneck.
It's a dead system. Authors write articles, they go through a lengthy bureaucratic approval process, they finally get published 3 weeks later, and they immediately begin to go out of date the second a product gets patched.
It's useless for real-time problem solving.
What needs to happen in an intelligent co-pilot architecture is this. When an agent encounters a novel, complex query, let's say it's a bizarre edge case, where the AI's initial guidance failed or was insufficient.
And that human agent successfully resolves the issue using their own intuition, research, and cross-departmental collaboration.
The system must capture that success instantly. The reasoning engine must observe that successful resolution path, trace the steps the agent took, and auto-craft a draft of a new knowledge article based on that specific interaction.
Wait, so the AI is watching the human fix the problem and then writing the manual on how they did it?
Precisely. This maps directly to a massive role shift within the organization. Knowledge managers must stop acting as technical writers, grinding out step-by-step articles.
Their role elevates significantly. They transition into curating, validating, and executing strategic content planning.
So they become editors of machine-generated intelligence.
Yes. They review the AI-generated drafts based on successful agent resolutions. They verify that the solution complies with legal and regulatory standards, and then they publish them.
The knowledge base transitions from a static library into a living organism.
The collective intelligence of the contact center becomes self-improving in near real time, drastically reducing the effort required for the next agent who faces that same bizarre edge case tomorrow morning.
That brings us to step 3. You have to redefine your metrics. And I'm going to be aggressively definitive here. If you are listening to this, you have to kill average handle time.
AHT is dead as a primary measure of contact center health in the era of the intelligent copilot.
This is a tough pill to swallow for legacy management. But let's look at the operational math.
Right, let's just do the math. If your AI reasoning engine is autonomously handling all the password resets, the basic order status checks, the simple policy questions, the low-hanging fruit that usually takes 2 minutes to resolve what is left for the human agents.
Only the most complex, emotionally charged, and highly intricate problems. The massive escalations.
The edge cases that require deep empathy, sophisticated negotiation, and multi-system troubleshooting.
Exactly. Because the AI is skimming all the easy, high-volume, low-handle time interactions off the top of the queue, the statistical average handle time for your human workforce is absolutely mathematically guaranteed to go up.
It has to.
If you are still managing your floor by holding agents to a strict, low AHT target from 2019, you're going to punish them for doing the exact deep dive problem solving that the AI cannot do.
You will drive catastrophic behaviors. Agents will start rushing customers off the phone on high-stakes, delicate issues just to hit an obsolete, arbitrary time metric.
So we have to provide a new dashboard. If AHT is deprecated as the primary KPI, what replaces it?
We need to measure the quality of complex interactions. We need to track customer sentiment improvement over the course of the interaction.
Using the AI's detection to see if the tone actively shifted from negative at the start of the call to neutral or positive by the end.
That delta is your new metric for empathy. We need to track first contact resolution, but specifically weighted for those intricate, multi-layered issues.
And crucially, something rarely measured: agent job satisfaction. Are they feeling the psychological reward of doing higher value, complex, investigative work? Or are they burning out from the constant barrage of severe escalations?
Let's hit step 4. Reprioritize training and create new headcounts. Specifically, the AI-driven service design roles.
Because if the work is changing, the profile of a successful agent is changing.
Agent training must definitively pivot. We have spent decades training agents on rote scripts, UI navigation, and policy memorization.
Click here, read this, transfer there.
The Copilot handles that now. Training must pivot entirely toward advanced critical thinking, complex problem-solving methodologies, and highly nuanced, empathetic communication for sensitive interactions.
You are no longer training data entry clerks, you are training diplomats and complex systems analysts.
But to support those advanced agents, you can't just hand the platform over to your traditional IT help desk. You need a completely new, required headcount.
You need AI-driven service design experts. These are specialized roles entirely dedicated to the care and feeding of the reasoning engine.
What do they actually do all day?
They are configuring complex workflows. They are continuously optimizing the underlying models. They are tuning prompts based on real-world feedback from the floor.
They are the ones monitoring for that insidious data drift we talked about earlier, ensuring that the AI's recommendations remain strictly aligned with shifting business objectives.
They bridge the gap between operational reality and artificial logic.
Which brings us to the final and most structurally disruptive step, step 5, enforce strict accountability and decision rights.
Because when an AI deployment fails, and it will have hiccups, the ambiguity of ownership is what paralyzes the recovery. Everyone points fingers.
We need to explicitly map this out. We are not just building our RCI matrix for a slide deck. We need to define operational reality.
Let me frame this as clearly as possible. Who gets fired when it breaks? Let's break down the roles.
Let's start with contact center managers. They are not off the hook just because the AI is doing the heavy lifting on data retrieval.
They are strictly accountable for daily productivity and the post-implementation customer satisfaction scores. They own the day-to-day feedback loop.
If agents are actively ignoring the AI, or if CIAT plummets specifically on AI-assisted cases, that is on the floor manager to identify, quantify, and flag immediately.
Moving up the chain, you have the service leaders and the CX strategists.
They are accountable for the overall enterprise CX impact and the strategic business outcomes.
If you spend $5 million on an intelligent copilot deployment, and it doesn't actually move the needle on customer lifetime value, or if it fundamentally degrades the brand's reputation for empathetic, high-touch service, the CX strategist is the one who answers to the board.
Then we have the technical backbone, the Salesforce admins and platform engineers. Their accountability is absolute regarding system stability, data cloud integration, and data integrity.
They own the technical execution of the flows and the prompt builder architecture.
If the system goes down, or if the reasoning engine starts hallucinating because it is pulling from corrupted, unsynced data tables, the platform engineers are solely responsible for that operational failure.
And finally, the AI and data scientists. Whether they are internal hires or highly paid external consultants, they are accountable for the mind of the machine.
They are responsible for ensuring the statistical accuracy of the reasoning engine, monitoring algorithmic drift, and ensuring the absolute integrity of the routing logic.
If the AI develops hallucination loops, or if the underlying data models start degrading in accuracy over time, the data scientists must answer for that systemic failure.
This five-step playbook, designing for transparency, dynamic knowledge, auto-crafting, killing AHT, establishing new service design roles, and enforcing strict accountability is the framework for survival in this new era.
But even if you execute this playbook flawlessly, even if your architecture is perfect, we need to confront a deeper, much more systemic issue.
It is time for the intellectual climax of this debate. We need to drop the empowerment marketing narrative entirely and look at the long-term human cost of this technology.
The uncomfortable truth, the one that no vendor wants to talk about on a conference main stage, is this. The pervasive continuous integration of this highly intelligent copilot subtly but undeniably erodes the human agent's intrinsic problem-solving intuition and their critical decision-making faculties over time.
Hold on, let me play devil's advocate here because the immediate counter-argument from any platform leader is obvious. The AI makes them faster.
It removes the crushing cognitive load of searching for data across 10 silos so they can focus entirely on the human in front of them.
It gives them superpowers to diagnose issues they wouldn't have understood otherwise. How is that not the very definition of empowerment?
I will double down on this. It is not empowerment. It is a very sophisticated, comfortable form of dependency. Think about what happens when you use GPS navigation for years.
You lose your sense of direction.
Exactly. You lose your intrinsic sense of direction. You no longer build a mental map of the city. You don't look at landmarks. You don't understand how neighborhoods connect. You just blindly follow the blue line on your phone.
The exact same cognitive decay happens on the contact center floor.
When an agent is constantly fed the next best action, when the reasoning engine handles all the complex diagnostic cross-referencing for them, the agent's mental muscles for investigation begin to atrophy.
They stop looking for anomalies.
They stop synthesizing complex patterns in their own minds. They stop asking, why is this happening? And they just start clicking approve.
They transform from independent, critical problem solvers into highly efficient, deeply dependent operators of AI-prescribed workflows. And this dependency is heavily masked by the industry rhetoric of empowerment.
So you're saying that because the machine is so incredibly good at reasoning a plan of action, the human simply stops reasoning entirely? They just become the meat interface between the AI's logic and the customer's ears.
Precisely. And the ultimate risk, the dark operational horizon that we have to acknowledge and plan for, is that genuine, spontaneous human innovation in customer service will become a rare, unrewarded anomaly.
Because why would they innovate? Think about the incentive structure. Why would an agent take the professional risk of developing their own creative, out-of-the-box solution to a bizarre customer problem when they can just click the AI-validated action on their screen?
If they follow the AI's recommendation and it goes horribly wrong, the machine takes the blame. Hey, I just did what Agentforce told me to do.
But if they go off script, if they use their own intuition and it fails, they get fired for not following protocol.
The incentive structure mathematically guarantees that agents will defer to the machine, effectively killing the exact human empathy and creative problem solving we claim we are deploying this technology to protect. We are systematically engineering the intuition out of our workforce.
It is a profound operational vulnerability. If we allow that erosion to happen, we fundamentally hollow out the core competency of our service organizations. We become entirely reliant on the machine's ability to interpret reality.
We've covered massive ground today. We've torn down the passive data viewer, analyzed the failure modes of recommendation overload and shadow AI, mapped a rigid accountability structure, and confronted the long-term cognitive decay of the workforce.
Oh, we bring it back to you, the listener. We are leaving you with 3 concrete next actions. You need to execute these before your next deployment meeting.
Action 1. Audit your current AI governance model today. You must explicitly map the accountability roles we discussed. Do not let another day go by where the lines between your contact center managers, your platform admins, and your data scientists are blurred.
Document exactly who owns the technical fallout when the AI hallucinates and who owns the strategy when CSAT drops.
Action 2. Revamp your quality assurance scorecard immediately. If your QA team is still just measuring script adherence and AHT, you are managing a contact center from 2015.
You need to actively penalize shadow AI workarounds, but more importantly, you need to financially and professionally reward agents who demonstrate critical thinking on edge cases that the AI couldn't handle. You must actively incentivize and reward human intuition.
Action 3. Implement a strict transparency check on your current or planned AI user interface. Walk out onto your floor, sit down with an agent, look at the UI, and ask them if they understand why the AI generated a specific prompt.
If the agent cannot clearly see and articulate the reasoning behind the recommendation, you must pause the rollout until that explainability is built into the workflow.
And we want to leave you with one profoundly uncomfortable closing question to chew on. Look at your floor, look at your metrics, and ask yourself this.
If your top 10% of agents leave tomorrow, does your system actually know how to solve a novel problem? Or was it just piggybacking on their unrecorded intuition this whole time?
Listen, if you want to stay ahead of real CRM and AI platform shifts, you need to subscribe to the CRM Position podcast.
This is where we break down complex operational realities without the hype, so you can understand the real state of the art, not the marketing narratives. Think, subscribe, and stay sharp.